Hi, everyone. I'm Alyson Watson, founder and CEO of Modern Health. We are a mental health benefits platform for employers, and I'm really excited to be here today to share with you a little bit more about the undiscussed epidemic around mental health. So before we jump in and I share a little bit more about mental health and what's going on in our everyday lives, I thought it might be helpful to kick off with a moment of mindfulness. So in the spirit of practicing what we preach, I'm going to lead, if you're open to it, a little guided meditation. So we're going to do about 60 seconds. So get comfortable. It means put your feet on the ground about hip width distance. Maybe let your gaze fall heavy. No one can see you. You can turn your camera off if you happen to have it on. And we'll put our hands on top of our knees and close our eyes. So start to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Big audible exhale. And then after you do that 3 times, you'll start to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Now, as you continue to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, notice your belly rise and your belly fall. Maybe even put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and just bring your attention to your breath, feeling your belly rise and your belly fall. Now, as you continue to do that, slowly bring your attention to your feet. Relax your feet into the ground, let them get heavy. Relax your toes, let them fall heavy into the ground beneath you. Moving up to your calves, let them fall heavy behind your legs. Maybe relax your knees, release any tension you have in your joints. Let your thighs fall heavy, your seat fall heavy into the chair. Relax any tension there. Moving your attention up to your hips. Let them relax into your seat. Then up to your belly. Again, continuing to feel your belly rise and your belly fall as you breathe. Going up to your chest. And then your shoulders, let your shoulders completely relax. Down to your elbows, let those relax. Spread your fingers wide and then let them relax on top of your knees. Bring your attention up to your neck. Maybe bring your head to one side and then the other, getting a little stretch in your neck. And then relax them into your shoulders. Relax your cheeks. Relax your mouth. Relax your eyes. All the way up to the top of your head, feeling completely relaxed. And then take another 2 breaths in through your nose and out through your nose, in through your nose and out through your nose. And then when you're ready, slowly start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and then bring your gaze slowly back up to the computer. I've never done that before where I can't see anyone's face, but hopefully some folks out there enjoyed it. Okay, with that, let's jump in. So I'm really excited to share a little bit more about what's going on with the mental health epidemic today. And really what we've seen is that even before COVID, mental health issues were on the rise, even before this pandemic that we're dealing with today. Mental health was actually the #1 cause of disability worldwide before year 2020. So it has been an issue that has been a challenge that's been on the rise over the last several years. I mean, you can see some stats here, right? Close to 20% of American workers report having a mental health condition every month. 23% of all years lost due to disabilities caused by a mental health disability, and 1 in 5 are experiencing a mental health challenge. You can see some headlines here to show that employers are really starting to prioritize this, and it's not going away anytime soon. So 2020 has really accelerated the mental health challenges that we're dealing with. In a way, it's actually accelerated what we were already starting to see before this year happened, which is the way that we work is very different. We no longer work 9 to 5, right? We're tethered to technology in a way that we never have been before. And we're seeing that through our own research that we've done at Modern Health, almost 50% of employees are reporting more stress during this year than any other time in their life. And 93% of people are getting screened for anxiety in 2020 compared to 2019, total increase. So really what this is telling us is mental health is at the forefront of everything we're doing. It's at the forefront of every single business. It has become a top priority, and it's no longer something that we can ignore. These problems are not going away. And so that's why employers are continuing to prioritize and focus on them today. And the way that we think about mental health at Modern Health is if we look at ourselves on a biological level, we as humans look pretty much the same as we did hundreds, let alone thousands of years ago. But we haven't created new neural pathways to be resilient to the environment that we live in today. So I often say it's like we have a V1 operating system in a V1000 world. So think of the stressors that we deal with in everyday life. We're not wired to be able to deal with the stress of going through a matter of jealousy, happiness, sadness in a matter of 30 seconds just by looking at our phones. We aren't, wired to deal with the stress of being tethered to our phones next to our beds or having our workstations set up in our bedrooms. So this world that we're operating in today has changed so drastically, but we as humans haven't been given the tools to build up resilience to this world that we're living in today. And we need to give ourselves and our employees the tools to be resilient, because the way that we're operating is not going away anytime soon. And there are amazing benefits from technology, right? That's why all of us are here today. But we have to give ourselves the tools to live and thrive in this world where we get the benefits of technology, but also are resilient to the stressors that we're seeing some stats here. 65% of adults are feeling burnt out by news and social media consumption. I'm sure many people watching this today feel that often. And most of American workers are feeling burnt out by work. So this is having an impact on businesses' bottom line. When your employees aren't healthy, your company isn't healthy. And the easiest way to think about this is human capital is the number one asset, right, for employers. The next billion-dollar idea is in a human's head, not a robot's head, for better or for worse. And so the impact of mental health on overall companies is that it has a huge impact on productivity loss. 62% of absenteeism is attributed to mental health conditions, and two acts of disability leaves is due to mental health challenges, twice as long as any other disability leave. This chart's pretty telling within itself. You see the massive increase in how often mental health is being discussed in earning calls, and employers and their employees are now demanding a solution. What's happened in this environment today, mental health has become more destigmatized, which is great. So more people feel comfortable going to their employer saying, I need support, I need resources. And when they point to their traditional health insurance, it's not cutting it. We're seeing this in our own research that we've done at Modern Health. You can see some stats on the right here that shows about 65% of employees feel it's important for their employer to offer more mental health benefits, really to offer something that can give them the care that they need. And 67% of employees feel it's their company's responsibility to provide these services. So how can companies solve this? So the current options that are out there are ineffective, and I'll share a little bit more about the landscape and the way that it works today. So if someone is struggling with a mental health issue, the way that people traditionally think about solving it is, let's make it easier for folks to connect to psychotherapists. The problem with connecting to psychotherapists is people think that means I should get coverage through my health insurance. But most providers don't accept health insurance because the reimbursement rates are so low. So the national average in the US is about $40 to $60 an hour for a therapist to get reimbursed through the health insurance carrier for seeing a patient. So as a result, most providers don't accept health insurance. About 60% of them don't, which means for those that are in network, there's a much longer wait period. It takes a while to get connected to provider, and often it's someone that doesn't necessarily meet your needs or has the skill set of the specialty of what you need. So then what happened were there's these incumbent EAPs, which basically are a 1-800 number for people to call when they're in crisis mode. Now, as you can imagine, calling some 1-800 number is just not the user experience that we expect today. It reinforces the stigma and ultimately just is another way that creates limited access to care for those who really need support. So then what happened is all these point solutions cropped up, but they really focused on targeting one subset of the population. So if we think about mental health on this spectrum from green to red, and we all fall somewhere on that spectrum and it ebbs and flows at different points in our life, if there's a solution out there that's only targeted to one subset of the population, it doesn't allow for a successful triaging process. In fact, it ultimately can lead to ineffective triaging, because let's use an example. Let's say someone's struggling with depression. Guiding them to just a meditation solution obviously is not going to solve it. Or let's say someone just wants to focus on improving their overall mindfulness. Well, guiding them to a solution that focuses on just high-cost psychotherapy is a misallocation of healthcare resources. So we really have to build a solution that triages individuals to the right level of care, makes it easy for everyone to engage in their mental health, and removes that stigma so we aren't waiting till people are in the red zone, but we get people to engage across that entire spectrum of green to red. So let me tell you a little bit about Modern Health and what we do and how we solve for this. So the way that we work is we work with employers to make it easy for all of their employees to get access to mental health resources. And the way that we do that is we triage people to the right level of care based on what their needs are, what their preferences are, and what they're going through. So the way that the population breaks down is actually a typical bell curve. So as you see on this slide here, you have about 20% of folks in the red, 50, 60% in the yellow, 20+% in the green. So really the population spans across that entire spectrum, and there's different needs for these different populations. So for someone who's in the red zone, they might be struggling with depression or anxiety and could benefit from working with a virtual therapist or maybe doing an evidence-based CBT program to help treat depression. Someone in the green, on the other hand, might be wanting to improve their overall mindfulness, and maybe that's vis-a-vis a meditation or working with a mental health coach. And then maybe someone's in the yellow bucket. Maybe they're struggling with relationship issues or financial stress, and they can be solved for by connecting to a mental health coach who specializes in these different areas. So the whole idea behind Modern Health is there's no one size fits all. We want to meet everyone where they're at and make it easy for everyone to engage in their mental health, no matter where they fall on that spectrum, and continue to support them throughout their mental health journey, as it's a long journey for all of us and it continues to ebb and flow at different points in our life. So our solution works. So far, we have over 20% engagement across our book of business, which means over 20% of an eligible workforce is actively engaged with our product. We have a 4.95 provider rating. So after someone meets with a provider, they can rate their session out of 5 stars. And we're currently supporting employees in over 30 countries and have providers that speak over 35 languages. So moving on to some actionable tips and tricks that you can get out of this presentation today to immediately take action. So the first thing that leaders can do is really create a culture around mental wellness. This means encouraging your team to prioritize their mental health, even when facing other trade-offs or competing priorities. This might mean that encouraging people to take a mental health day to help prevent burnout. We know that when people are mentally fit and mentally resilient, they are able to perform at the top of their game, and it helps prevent burnout. So while it may mean slowing down in the short term, it allows you to go much faster in the long term. Another really key actionable insight that we've learned working with so many innovative companies around the world is really encouraging leadership teams to take the lead on being vulnerable. I'm very, open and honest and transparent in saying, I often say, I wouldn't be here today without the support of my therapist, my executive coach, my couples counselor. It's really important to invest in these things. Very similar to having a coach as an athlete, right? You want to be able to continue to improve and perform, and we can't do this alone. It's okay, and it's important to get the support that you need and to lead with vulnerability around that, to show that it's not a weakness. It's actually a strength to get support to want to continue to improve. And this is actually one of the easiest ways to destigmatize mental health in the workforce, and is one of the key areas that we really lean into at Modern Health. And then the third I would say is prioritize your own mental wellness. Make sure you check in yourself. Make sure you invest in whether it's getting a mental health coach, a therapist, making time for meditation like we did at the beginning of the presentation today. It only takes 1 minute and it can make a huge impact on your life. We as humans are wired to take breaks. We're not supposed to be in this fight or flight stress zone our entire lives. We're supposed to take time to breathe, to be awake, but have, be able to sit mindfully and have thoughts that aren't just constantly ping-ponging around and creating a world of anxiety. We're supposed to take breaks and focus on deep breathing and getting time away from our computers and our emails and our cell phones. So coming back to remembering why we're here. So this is a quote that I just want to end on, which is, thank you so much for bringing Modern Health into our company. I just had my first session and I feel like a weight has been lifted. I literally can't thank you enough. This is the start of something amazing for me personally. So this is all it takes to change someone's life, is giving them an opportunity where they can connect to someone, where they can feel heard, where they can create space for themselves to unplug, step away from the computer, and really build that genuine connection with someone else to help improve their overall mental health. Thank you. Excited to hear any questions that you guys have, and I will start taking those in the chat. Okay, we are back to answer some questions. So if you have any questions, please submit them and then we can go through them. So we had one question that came in that says, how have you seen COVID impact your business and usage of the platform? So we've definitely seen a massive increase in acceleration in overall mental health support and consumption. We've seen over a 50% increase in activity in our platform since shelter in place started in March. So really what this tells us is that as people are going through this pandemic, they really do want support. So if there is a resource available to them, they will lean into that. We've also seen it's a lot easier for people to engage in getting support for their mental health if a resource is available, because they are home and they can spend, they can schedule time more easily with connecting to a therapist virtually or a mental health coach, or even carving out time to engage in different digital resources and tools. So we've definitely seen a massive increase in usage overall. And then another question came in that says, do you see any difference with what is needed in terms of mental health care support from before COVID to now? I think the short answer is yes. We've definitely seen that more people want to engage in their mental health. So as mental health has become more destigmatized, which is great, more people want to engage in their mental health. Now, connecting people to a high-cost psychotherapist is beneficial and relevant for a subset of the population. But you've got people who fall into the green and yellow bucket who now want to engage in their mental health. So it's just as important that we make sure there's resources for them so that they can get the support they need to build that mental resilience and mental fitness as we continue to face the different adversities that we faced, especially as we've seen in year 2020. So what this means for us is it has increased demand for resources outside of connecting someone to a therapist. So whether that's coaching to proactively work on relationships or career development, or whether that's mindfulness and meditation or other digital tools, we're seeing a much bigger demand, increase in demand for those other subsets of the population. Someone asked, what does a reduced COVID world look like for modern health? I'm not sure if I understand that question, but I think what they're trying to get at is when we go back to normal, which I think what this has shown us is really just the priority and importance of mental health for all employers. This whole year has highlighted that importance and shown us that it's not going away anytime soon. And that, as I said, human capital is the #1 asset, and we must invest in our employees and make sure that they're taken care of so that they can continue to perform at the top of their game and that the business can continue to be successful. Someone asks, mental health is sometimes stigmatized within organizations. What are some easy steps to deal with this? So let me actually go back to this slide if you all can see it. I think one of the first things that I would recommend for leaders is really around being vulnerable and showing that it is okay and it is important to invest in your mental health, and it's not a sign of weakness. So as I shared before, I'm often pretty vocal and transparent about, getting support from an executive coach, from a therapist, and how this allows me to continue to perform and to be productive. And so I think it comes from the leadership level of showing, hey, we really care about you. We know it's important to invest in your mental health, and showing that you invest in your own mental health. So that gets us to our next point of prioritize your own mental wellness. If you show up as a leader and you're very stressed out and feeling frantic, that's going to then come off and show, to your teammates and to your employees. And so it's really about also prioritizing your own mental health so you can show up for your team and be a really great leader and teammate. Let's see some other questions coming through. Okay, I think that's it for questions. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm Alyson Watson, founder and CEO of Modern Health. Thank you so much for having me today. And if you have any questions or any thoughts or ideas around mental health, we're always open and always want to hear them. Feel free to reach out to me personally at Alyson@modernhealth.com or to our team at info@modernhealth.com. Thanks again.